Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brian Barry over at ScanForce, and welcome back to our continuation in our educational webinar series. We do these series periodically, and we always post them to our YouTube channel. I encourage you to go to YouTube, search for ScanForce, and you'll find our channel there with a host, just a myriad of recordings going back over multiple years on various topics. Today, our topic is on warehouse management systems in general. Quite often, these series that we do are covering very specific topics like manufacturing or multi-bin or some specific enhancement. Today, we're going to cover the basics, and we're going to cover a lot of territory because the basics is a pretty broad topic. So I do apologize, a little bit of a cold. So if I cough in your ear, I do apologize in advance. So since we do have so much ground to cover today, I'm going to go ahead and get started now that we are at the top of the hour. And before we dive into the specifics about receiving and picking and shipping and physical counts and all the other things that warehouse management systems do, I want to focus on one key element, really the backbone of any sort of warehousing or inventory control system. And that is the barcode itself. Okay? Let me go ahead and advance onto our first screen. And you should be looking at a series of barcode options that are out there that I wanted to talk about. I know that there's a varying degrees of familiarity with barcoding. Some of you may have been doing barcoding for many years. Others, it may be a brand new subject, and there's a lot of mystery there. I've been doing barcoding for over 25 years, and believe me, I've kind of heard it and seen it all. I've been in meetings where people had said some really outlandish things about what they plan to do with barcodes and what their thoughts were about the functionality that they could get out of a barcoding system. I don't want to level the playing field. So I want to go through what I call Barcoding 101, give you a little bit of background on the barcode itself, because this is the driving force behind all of the accuracy, the efficiency, and the timeliness gains that we get out of having a warehouse management system, big fancy word for barcoding app. Okay. First of all, over on the right-hand side, you will see over here, I've got various different types of barcodes. At the top, you look at these, you probably think it looks like Satan's chessboard. These are two-dimensional barcodes. At the bottom, these that look more like a picket fence, these are one-dimensional barcodes. So 1Ds or 2Ds. You'll hear these called, like I said, picket fence or linear barcodes. They go by many different names. The bottom line to you is it really doesn't matter what barcode is out there because all the barcode scanners can read all the barcode types. It really doesn't matter what type your vendor uses or your customer uses. All the scanners can read all the barcodes. Now, there are some big differences. For instance, if you look at this one right over here, it's pretty small. I'm probably not going to be able to read that if it's on a box and I'm on a forklift. Okay. But if I have one like this, that's a much larger barcode, I might be able to read that from 6, 8, 10 feet away, as long as I have the right type of barcode scanner. That's where talking to the experts really plays into your benefit. So when you're talking to us here at ScanForce, we know all the ins and outs, the art behind the science. We can help you marry the right type and size of barcode with the right type of barcode scanner to meet your needs. Because some of you do have people that live on a forklift and they never want to get off. Other people are always touching things with their hand. They're dealing with barcodes much closer. We will help you find the right mix. Okay. For instance, over here on the left-hand side, you'll see this is one label, and I've got a part number and a quantity, the supplier, the serial number, the PO number. I've got multiple different barcodes. But if I'm a guy sitting on the seat in a forklift, how am I going to scan the serial number and not get one of the other barcodes by mistake? Okay, there are things that we can do programmatically to make sure that we get the right one. Or we could simply take all of this data and put it into one of these two-dimensional barcode formats. It can hold a lot more data. And that way, with one barcode scan, we can get all the data that we need. So the takeaway here is we're the experts in barcodes, so you don't have to be. You tell us what your wants and needs are, and we'll marry it up with the right technology. Okay? Now, most presentations like this, people tell you, put your phones away because I want you to focus on the presentation, not what's going on your phone. I'm going to do the exact opposite. I want you to get your phone out because what I would like you to do now is open up the camera app on your phone and look through your camera at that barcode. Now, you don't have to take a picture, but if you point your camera from your phone at that barcode on the screen, it will give you a pop-up that you can click on the screen that will link your phone to my presentation. Because as we go, I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to pop some poll questions up on the screen, and I would like for you to answer them. Now, in the strictest of confidence, no one will ever see what you specifically said. All we're going to see is percentages, like 80% of people said this, 10% of people said that. Not even me will be able to see what you answered. So you can answer completely honestly and don't worry about the consequences. Okay. It's like my kindergarten teacher told me, Brian, there are no stupid questions, just stupid people. I'm not sure exactly what she meant by that, but I hope you've had a chance to scan the barcode so you can participate and make this really interactive. It's a lot more fun than sitting there hearing me yammer on about a bunch of PowerPoint slides. Okay. Now, if for any reason you haven't been able to get it to work yet, this barcode is going to be on all the poll question slides as well, so you can join in as we go. Let's get our first question up there. Since we're talking about barcodes in general, just tell me what you think. What year do you think barcodes were first created? Up at the top right, we can see some folks that are joining in, participating, and plotting their answers in. We're up into double digits. Greatly appreciate all of you folks that are participating in this. Makes it a lot more fun. Okay, so the numbers keep climbing up. I appreciate that. You can keep voting. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and advance on, and let's take a look at the responses. So some of you said 1776. I appreciate the patriotism. Maybe that's due to the Olympics right now. Most of you said 1948. Some of you said 1974. We even had some 1982. So a pretty wide variety. Everybody kind of all over the place. Well, let's find out. Okay. When were barcodes first created? Well, the first barcode scan was a pack of Wrigley's gum way back in 1974. Many of you have heard this story. That's probably why you picked 1974. So you're probably patting yourself on the back, feeling pretty good about yourself. However, the question wasn't when was the first item scanned, it was when were they first created. And a good many of you may have been on one of these presentations with me before and you cheated and you knew that it was actually 1948. So in 1948, Drexel University, that's where this idea really came about. And in 1952 is when it was patented. So pretty good while ago. And here is an actual page from that original patent. This was called the bullseye barcode. And as you can tell, you've never seen one of these. Okay. There's a good reason. This is the Betamax of barcodes. Okay. Remember the Betamax VHS wars? Maybe I'm dating myself. But this format did not win out because of all the curves. There's no straight lines here. Okay. And the printers of the day were not nearly as good as the printers of today. And personally, I hate printers. They're the bane of my existence. Every time remember my family complains about a printer, I just go buy a new one. But you can imagine how bad they were in the 50s and the 60s. So these curved lines, they didn't play too well. So that's why they settled on the linear barcodes, more of those picket fence style that we saw earlier. Okay. So here's another question. How many barcode symbologies are there? Now, a lot of you are probably scratching your head saying, Brian, what the heck is a symbology? Well, a symbology is the language of a barcode. Now, humans, we write, we read, we speak in English and Spanish and French and German, Italian, all these other languages. Barcodes have languages too. We call them symbologies because they are symbols. It's not written text, it is a symbol, hence symbologies. In fact, some of you may remember way back in the old days, the very first company that sort of came out with the very first laser scanners was called Symbol Technologies. That's where all these names came from, Symbol Technologies, symbologies. That intellectual property was sold off. It is now part of Zebra Technologies, and that is the hardware that we provide. So we've got some answers that are coming in. Let's see what everybody is thinking. Okay. I like it. Go big or go home. A lot of you guessed 117. I appreciate the moxie. However, 30 is the correct answer. So there are about 30. And see, somebody's cheating and they're waiting till I give the answer to put in their vote. That's okay. Nobody can tell who you are. But 30 is the correct answer. There's about 30 different barcode languages or symbologies that are out there. But like I said in the onset, It really doesn't matter to you because the scanners that we provide are capable of reading all of them. I get calls all the time saying, Brian, this barcoding system isn't going to work because we use code 129, but my vendor, they use code 39 or code 3 of 9. They're not going to combat, not compatible. Yeah, they are. Don't worry about it. Barcode scanners will read it. It's like the Star Trek Universal Translator. It'll work. Okay. All right. So we talked about one-dimensional barcodes. We talked about two-dimensional barcodes, like the QR code that's on your screen right now in the top left. That's the symbology, or it's called the QR code. How many digits do you think a 2D barcode can hold? And while you're voting, it's time for me to take a sip of water and choke down a cough. So 2D barcodes can certainly hold more than a one-dimensional barcode. That's one of their big benefits. Let's see what everybody is thinking. Okay, votes still coming in, back and forth and back and forth. And the 7,000s have it. Yes, a barcode of 2D symbologies. There are various types, but in general, around 7,000 digits they can hold. Okay, so if you or if you were an end user, if you have your own products, or if you are a Sage reseller partner and you're thinking about your customers that you deal with, if there are lot numbers, if there are serial numbers, if there are a lot number and an expiration date, any sort of extra data beyond just the item code, we can encode all of that in one barcode. So when we print a label, which we're going to talk about extensively today, then that one label will have like a QR code, like on the screen now. We know all the barcode scanners can read it, and it can hold all the data. And then the term is parse the data. Parsing means to break it into its component elements. So we take the item code, we take the serial or the lot or the expiration date or manufacture date or receiving date or whatever information you want, and we can populate it in the right place. So with one scan, we capture multiple pieces of data. Now, how long would it take somebody in your current operation to write down item code, lot number, expiration date, as opposed to just going beep and being done? And by the way, that piece of paper they wrote it down on, we don't need that at all because we're going to transmit it directly back to Sage. Okay. So now that you've learned a little bit about barcodes, you all have at least an associate's degree in barcoding. And it was completely free. I do offer a master level class, although that one I do charge for. I have a kid getting ready to go to college, so bills have to be paid. But if you have any kind of barcoding question, like I said, I've been in this business for over 25 years. Please call me and ask me your barcoding question. I'm here for it. Would love to have that conversation. Okay. So now you've passed your class. You've learned a little bit about barcodes. Let's learn just a little bit more about ScanForce if you're not familiar with us. I know many of you are existing customers or partners, and we welcome you. For those of you that are the first-time listeners, I want to give you just a quick background. I promise I will not read this screen to you. There's a lot of information here, but we're going to send this to you as a link. So you can come back and peruse this at your leisure, okay? The takeaways here, we've been around for quite a while. We grew out of Sage 100, in fact. Little known fact, it was a Sage 100 client, just like you, that said, hey, I want to scan barcodes, and something was written for them, and that's what became ScanForce. But there's one piece of information on this screen that I really want to highlight. It's right here in the middle. It says perfected solution use in connected and disconnected environments. What we mean by that is if you have a real-time connection to your host system, no matter what app you're in, whether it's cellular or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or whatever, then you can piggyback off of that. And that's great. You always have access to that data. But what happens if you don't have that? A lot of you have laydown yards outside of your warehouse where you don't have Wi-Fi coverage. And you may be thinking, I wonder if this thing is actually feasible because our people do a lot of their work outside there. Or you may have racking that goes all the way to the ceiling, and you may have a canyoning effect. When you go deep down in the aisles, the Wi-Fi signal does not propagate over the top of the racks and down into the deep, dark recesses of your warehouse. It's called a canyoning effect. It's like when you can't get a cellular signal if you're hiking through a canyon. Same basic principle. So we, from our very onset, ScanForce was designed to work in a disconnected environment. So at the beginning of a transaction, let's take a purchase order, for instance. We're going to list the PO, And then it's going to go through the Wi-Fi. It's going to grab all the data from Sage about that PO number, the item codes, descriptions, what we're expecting, the quantities, all that stuff. Maybe if we've already received partials, all that is downloaded to the resident memory of the handheld scanner itself. Then I can be disconnected, whether I go outside of the facility where there's no Wi-Fi, or whether I have canyoning that back in the dark recesses of the aisles, or maybe the Wi-Fi or the power or something just blinks off. So even if you haven't started the process, or whether you're at line item 99 out of 100, you've already done. A, you're not going to lose any data. B, you can keep working even completely disconnected, because we have all the data on the handheld. We're able to validate those items and descriptions and quantities and such. And so we'll do all the matching. We'll make sure it's all legit. We'll give the user instant feedback. If anything is incorrect, let them make corrections. And then we save it. And then when we reacquire the signal, we sync up and we send the data. So this disconnected environment is a big feather in our cap. This is unique to ScanForce. We're the only ones in this market space that have the ability to validate in a disconnected environment. And that's important, okay? I won't harp on this screen really a lot, because we're going to drill down into all of these areas throughout the rest of our time together. But in general, what we do, WMS, Warehouse Management System, we have 3 versions called Core, Select, and Premier. Each one is a step up in feature set. And the very first thing that we do, if you have questions about using this in your environment, I will have a one-on-one conversation with you and your team. I'll ask you a ton of questions, and we'll drill down and find out exactly what your needs are, okay? And then I'll help you slot into one of these feature sets, okay? Now, we talked about labeling and how barcodes drive the whole inventory control system. So what good would we be as a barcoding company if we couldn't print labels? We do, and we print them on demand at receiving, at manufacturing, when we're shipping, various different times, where it just automatically can pop up and say, hey, you want a label for this? So we make it very, very easy, okay? More on that to come. Manufacturing, we support bill of materials, BOM, production management, PM. We even still support work order for those of you that are running at older versions of Sage and haven't upgraded yet and aren't ready to make the move to a current version of Sage and move to production management. We can still support you there as well, okay? Mobile sales. I'm not going to harp a lot on mobile sales today. This is a completely separate application, not part of the warehousing system, but allows you to go out and take quotes and orders in a remote environment, either at your customer's location or at a trade show or something of that nature. All right. So we've covered some of the high level stuff about who we are and what we do. Let's drill down now and talk about some of the core things that make this applicable in any Sage 100 warehouse. Let's do a quick feature review of our warehouse management system. The first is a little bit deeper dive on labeling. You'll see this young lady here. She's got her barcode scanner in her hand, and she's carrying a belt printer. Now, these can be worn on the belt, as you see, or a shoulder strap. A lot of people will attach them to a forklift or a pallet jack or something of that nature, so they carry it around with them. So if you need labels and mobility, we have a solution for that. Otherwise, we just have Wi-Fi printers that plug into the wall. So anywhere you've got an electrical outlet, you can have a barcode printer. And again, we do this on demand. Okay, when you're receiving or moving things from place to place, or picking or shipping or putting things on the pallet, we have the ability to print these labels on demand. Your users are not going to have to force the system to create labels. The system will ask your users, do you want a label for this or not? Okay, you can have virtually unlimited number of different types and sizes of labels. And if you want a 2x2 for small things and a 4x6 for big things, we could put printers side by side, and we can send the 2x2s over here, the 4x6s over here, and their labels just print out like magic. Okay, so if you're looking to speed things up and you want more accuracy, barcoding is for you. That's probably why you're here. Okay, now multi-bin. You know, Sage is a single bin system. Inside Sage, you're allowed to input a singular location where things live. That doesn't work for a lot of people, because maybe you get more than will fit in that one place. Or maybe you want to segregate stuff you got yesterday from stuff that you got 6 months ago. Okay, so if that's the case, ScanForce has designed an application. It's an overlay on top of Sage Inventory called Multi-Bin, and it does as the name suggests. And you'll see this quick screenshot. This is from within Sage. You see the green S here. I can see all the locations in my warehouse where I have this item. I have aisle A, aisle B. I have an overstock location. I have some on the receiving dock. I pulled some to ship. I can see exactly where everything is. And the system keeps up with things like the age of the product. In other words, if I want to run a FIFO environment, maybe the oldest stuff is the 196 units that are over here on aisle B. Okay. So the system can keep up with that. And if that's something that's important to you, okay, then we can actually have the system automatically allocate inventory for sales orders based on things like FIFO. Now, there are many different business rules that we allow you to choose from. FIFO just happens to be the most common, so that's what I'm going to talk about today, but just know that's not the only one, okay? So in a FIFO, first in, first out, the system will keep track of when you receive things and put them in places. Then when you enter a sales order, it's going to say, okay, Brian wants 10 of these, so I know where the 10 oldest are. It's over there, and it will reserve or allocate those against that sales order and keep them in reserve. We even can control the timing of when we create the reservation. So we can do this when the sales order is entered. But sometimes people say, well, I may enter a sales order that ships tomorrow. I may enter a sales order that doesn't ship for a month from now. I don't want to allocate that in reserve inventory for the order that's not going to ship for a month. So we can change the timing of these allocations. There's a great number of settings behind the scenes in ScanForce that allow us to customize and really tailor the solution to your unique environment without you having to spend a single dime on custom programming. There's many of these settings, and I'm going to talk about some of those as we go through today, but there are many more that I will not have time to get to. Just know that we can customize this and make it work for your unique environment. There are no two ScanForce customers that are set up exactly the same, okay? So back to our FIFO example, I needed 10, and the system says, well, the 10 oldest ones are over here. Well, that's fine that it creates the reservation, but it needs to communicate that information to me, the picker. And we do that through a process that we call directed picking. Directed picking will tell the user on the handheld exactly where to go, where to find this material based on the business rules that management has set up behind the scenes. And look how happy this young lady is. She didn't have to wander all over the warehouse looking for this thing. It told her exactly which aisle, rack, row, bin, shelf, whatever this stuff is on. She's got a big old smile on her face. She's going to go up there, scan that bin, and it's going to say, yep, you got the right one, baby. That's exactly where you're supposed to pick this from. That's what directed picking does. Tells the user exactly what to do. Here's a hidden ROI for warehouse management systems. If people can read the screen, they can become efficient day one. In your existing environment, if everything is based on memory and tribal knowledge, how long does it take for the new person to become efficient? Probably quite a long time. But with directed picking and some of the tools that I'm showing you here, imagine that worker that says, oh, line one says go to aisle A, rack one, shelf two, bin H. I go there, I scan it, it beeps, it says, yes, Brian, you're in the right place. So no tribal knowledge needed, no memorization. The system just handles it for me. And the best part, they don't have to waste time walking around the warehouse looking for stuff. It tells them exactly where to go. Okay. Shifting gears slightly, let's talk a little bit more about manufacturing. Now, I mentioned work order before. I'm not going to talk about it too much because it is older. Sage has been trying to phase it out for some time in favor of production management or bill of materials. We have bill of materials automation, production management automation, two different enhancements that can be bolted on to our warehouse management system to handle not only the distribution functions like receiving and physical counts and shipping, but also the production functions like BOM or PM. Okay. We allow you to do backflush if that's what you do, or if you're this kind of company that's tracking lot numbers and serial numbers and you want that backwards traceability to the components, we allow you to build components as you go and tell us exactly what went into that production run so you have that backwards traceability. Also, one of the big caveats with production management is the ability to track labor. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit more about PM later, okay? But right now, I think it's a really good time for another quiz. So I've talked about several different enhancements, things that we can add on, like manufacturing, to bolt on to the base warehouse management system. The WMS handles all of the basic distribution functions, and then we can tweak processes from there with enhancements. About how many enhancements do you think we offer? I don't expect you to have this knowledge. I'm just curious what you think. Do we have nearly 100 or do we have just a few handfuls? So pop an answer in. I just am curious to hear what you think. Again, nobody's going to judge you on this. Nobody knows what you're answering. I just am curious what you think. So you've got some answers flowing in. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what people are saying. Okay. Well, shame on you that only thought we had 12. Of course, we have more than that. We have 68. That is the correct answer. 68 enhancements. Now, to some of you, that may sound daunting. You think, oh my gosh, it's like looking at the menu at the Cheesecake Factory. You ever been there? There's like 30 pages, and you have no idea what to order. It's not like that at all. Remember that discovery call where I told you I was going to have that one-on-one conversation with you? I'm going to ask you very specific question that leads you down paths that will let us know if any of these 16 enhancements might make sense for you. Number one, do you do manufacturing? If you say no, well, there's 20 of them right off the top. Okay. So there's some that are very specific. Like if you don't deliver on your own trucks, you're probably not interested in any of our signature capture enhancements. Okay. If you don't do container level receiving, you're not interested in the enhancement that does that. But I'm going to ask you questions, kind of pulling teeth, if you will, to find out what's going on inside your warehouse. Where could we possibly find some more efficiencies? Okay. So, yes, 68 is the correct answer. And I am your guide to all 68 of those. Okay. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of doing these presentations. What's hot right now? Okay. We've covered some of the basics: labeling, manufacturing, multi-bin, how we store and see inventory, how we create new inventory. Those are sort of hardcore, fundamental things that are part of the system that anybody and everybody could use. Okay. I want to drill down and talk about some of the enhancements, some of those 68 that are really popular. These are things that make my phone ring, in other words. Okay. I have always thought that benchmarking was really important for any business, but it's hard to do. Okay. Benchmarking is comparing yourself to your peers, but sometimes life just gets in the way and it's really hard to do that. Where do you go to find that data? Well, I'm going to help you because the things that I'm going to talk about now are our most popular add on enhancements. These are things that other Sage 100 customers with warehouses that ship things in boxes and pallets, these are things that they have interest in. So at the very least, you should take a listen and see if it makes sense in your world as well. Now, obviously, not all these are going to apply to everybody, okay? But let's just take a look and see if any of these scratch an itch that you might have had, okay? The first one is called order assignment. Traditionally, the way things get picked in Sage is I have a pick ticket, or maybe a copy of the sales order. And I put those in 3 stacks and I hand them by my 3 pickers, or 30 stacks and hand them my 30 pickers, or however big your operation is. And I can shuffle them and put this one on the top because it's more important. And then I hand it out, and that's their to-do list for the day. That's the catalyst that tells the pickers what to do. Or we could automate that, throw a little technology at it, and get rid of all that blame paper. That's what order assignment does. Imagine you're the shift supervisor, the warehouse manager, operations manager, whatever, and you're sitting at your desk in the air conditioning or the heat, this case may be, and you're looking at your PC and you pull up our management console. It's like a dashboard, if you will. And you click on order assignment and you say, show me all of my LTL orders that need to ship today. And I look at that list and I say, I've got a couple of big ones. I've got a couple of medium-sized ones. I've got a bunch of small ones. I tell you what, I'm going to assign 2 big ones to one person and several medium-sized ones to one person and all the small ones to a third person. And now, guess what? I've balanced my workload. Everybody's got about the same amount of work to do, even though they have very different levels of numbers of quantities of orders. Okay. I can also prioritize them. I can bring one up to the top and say, hey, somebody's coming to pick this one up, or this truck's coming first. Get it ready to go right away. And the best part, completely paperless. A lot of people come to me and they say, Brian, my main goal, I've got to get rid of paper. I'm drowning. I'm killing trees. I'm responsible for the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest. Let's get rid of the paper. What can we do? Order assignment is a great step in that direction. Okay. And think about it from a change management standpoint. How many times have you had a change to an order that's already printed and been sent out to the warehouse? Well, now you got to find who's got that, get it back, and swap the paper. But if it was digital, you could make the change. And then as soon as they click it on the screen, they're seeing the most current version. It's automatic. Okay. So a lot more than just getting rid of paper. All right. Another one that's become very popular. Raise your hand if you use Starship for shipping parcels. Okay. UPS, FedEx, that sort of thing. Did you know we had an integration to that? Okay. What your people do today is they put things in boxes, then they go to a PC and they log in and they navigate through and they find the order and they draw the lines and da 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 and they input the data and they click the little truck icon and the buttons finally print out half an hour later, right? And that's on every order that happens. What if I could completely remove Starship from the equation for your workers? They would use the ScanForce handhelds. They would scan things into boxes based on the orders that they see on their screen. Remember the previous screen, we said we're going to give you a to-do list. I just electronically go scan that order. I put things in 3 different boxes. Then we collect all the data. Then I ping Starship behind the scenes, transparent to your user. Starship reads all that data and the labels just magically print out. Your users never again have to go to a PC and log into Starship. Now, from a setup configuration standpoint, sure. From an admin standpoint, you're still going to interface with Starship on a corporate level, but on an order by order, box by box label, your people don't even need to know that Starship exists. Think of the time saving on every frickin' box that you send out of your facility if people don't have to go to Starship. Okay, this is a no-brainer for anybody that's using Starship. Now, do you have equipment like this? You have forklifts, side loaders, pallet jacks, things like that that move around big, bulky things on pallets or giant tubs that hold things. If you do, my phone should be ringing as soon as we're done with this webinar, okay? Because we have license plating as an enhancement. Now, that's a generic term. Most people think of this as pallet tracking, okay? But license plating, excuse me, is there because not everybody ships in pallets. Some people ship in giant crates or totes or bags or barrels or whatever. It's a unit of measure that says I've got a bunch of stuff in one place like a pallet. Now, I use license plating and pallet tracking sort of interchangeably. Most people think of it in terms of pallets because that's generic, but we call it license plating because then it applies to a large, fits in for a larger swath of our users. Okay. So imagine I'm picking a sales order and I put some stuff on pallet 1, some stuff on pallet 2, and some stuff on pallet 3. ScanForce, as we've already discovered, can dynamically on demand print me a pallet ID tag for each of those, saying this is pallet 1001, 1002, 1003, and underneath it lists all the stuff that's on there and the quantities. So I shrink wrap it, I slap my label on there. I can stage those and they can sit there for a day or a week, a month, a year, however long. And then whenever the customer comes in to pick it up or whenever the truck arrives, all you have to do is scan those 3 ID tags and everything underneath the shrink wrap will ship instantaneously. It's the ultimate in touch it once and then never have to touch all those parts and pieces again. Okay. So a huge efficiency gain here. Okay. And it's not just on picking. Maybe you receive things in pallets and you want to say, I got 40 cases of X. It's on a pallet. I can take it over here and I can lay it down. And with multi-bin, I can tell you exactly where that pallet is. In one location, I could have a full pallet and I can have a broken pallet with individual pieces. It's very flexible. If you have any questions about how this might work in your environment, if your people move things by pallet, my phone should be ringing. We should be having a conversation about this. Okay. And by the way, we also allow you to mix products on pallets and inside Sage, click a button and drill down inside the pallet and see the exact items and quantities that are underneath the shrink wrap of a pallet sitting on a shelf in the dusty back corner of your warehouse. That's how sophisticated it is. Okay. Next one, image capture. This one has become wildly popular. Okay. They see this guy has loaded this back of this truck or container or whatever that is. Looks like a Jenga puzzle in there. He's got it in there and he couldn't fit a piece of paper in there. And with his handy dandy barcode scanner that he's holding in his hand, he's going to snap a picture of that from within the ScanForce application. Maybe he's receiving it and he's doing this during a purchase order. Maybe, in fact, I think on the screen it does say PO receiving. If your eyes are as good as that, you could read that. You could also do it in shipping. The point is, we have the ability to control the camera on the back of the scanner. So if I'm receiving and something's damaged, I don't have to go look for the camera, take a picture, take the card out, put it in the computer, save it, give it a name. I just go click, and that picture will be saved instantaneously in Sage. And the name of the image file is the PO number and like -01, 02, 03, that sort of thing. So you take as many pictures of each PO as you wish. And that way, a day, a week, a month later, anybody could go into that folder, type in the PO number, and see all those images. That's pretty cool. It's all in one nice, neat, tidy little place. You can also use it for document management. You can digitize documents. You have a PO or a bill of lading or a packing list, copy of an invoice, something like that that comes with a shipment. How much time do your people spend filing those today? What if they never had to file anything again? They just point the camera at it and go click, digitize it. Then we can zoom in if we need to read any of the fine print. Okay. And again, that gets saved in Sage forever. So if we do need to file a claim, we just type in the PO and I can see a copy of the paperwork and a copy of the damaged items. It's all right there. And I can send it off to the vendor or the carrier or whatever. And then on the outbound side, okay, you pack something immaculately and sitting on the dock, and a carrier comes and picks it up, and a week later you get an angry phone call from your customer because it's been beat all to hell. Okay, well, you've got some CYA there. I've nicknamed that the CYA enhancement because that's what it does. It gives you protection. You can go to the carrier and say, well, this is what it looked like when you picked it up from my dock. Why does it now look like it's been run over by the truck that delivered it? Okay. And I tell you, I have people all the time. They say, we had a claim back in so and so, and the cost of that one claim is more than the cost of this enhancement. And the enhancement protects me on every shipment that goes out my dock. Okay, so this image capture is pretty cool. We have it on the inbound side for receiving, and we have it on the outbound side for shipping. Okay. Next, I told you we drill down a little bit more about PM. I hit the basics before. We can do material issues, all the raw materials or components that are going to go into it. We can track completions. We can track scrap. Okay? We can print labels, finished good labels for this. Even if it's a sub-assembly, if this is step one of a 10-step process, maybe you want to print a label for the sub-assembly you make in step one so it can be scanned during the material issue step in step two. Okay, so that labeling is coming full circle. See how it's sort of interwoven throughout the whole system. And of course, we can do labor time entries. We have a couple of ways to do this. You can do it by what we call time clock, which is big green button in the start, big red button to stop. Okay. Or you could do it as a crew. You can have multiple people that clock in collectively. If you have a welding crew or a painting crew or whatever, they can go in and scan themselves in as a group of individuals instead of as individuals. Okay. Now, what if you have one person that clocks in on a job and they let a machine run, and then they clock in on another job and they let another machine run, and then a third one? So they're running three things simultaneously. How are they going to tell Sage the unique amount of time they spent on each one? They're going to have to start doing math in their head. Okay. Or we can use an enhancement called labor dilution, where ScanForce keeps up with the minutes and the seconds. We know exactly when they clocked into each job. And anytime there's overlap, we dilute the labor and we send the appropriate amount to that work ticket as a labor transaction for that person or that crew. Okay, so we have all of these are enhancements that would allow you to tweak production management. So for those of you that are heavy into production management, we need to talk about these. Okay, make to order. If you're a make to order shop, we can create your work tickets for you. When you enter a sales order, it's make to order says, hey, we don't have any of that. I need to make it. We'll create the work ticket and we'll link the two transactions together. Okay. It's one less thing you have to do every single time. Okay. Remember we talked about allocations based on FIFO for sales orders? We said, if I want to ship the oldest thing, I can allocate that automatically. ScanForce will do that for me and then direct me where to go. Well, guess what? With work ticket material management, now for the first time ever in Sage Production Management, you can allocate raw materials to a work ticket using that same sort of logic. Now, there's several others that are down here. I don't have time today to go into all these, but I have a recording of all of these, a full webinar just on this screen right here. Okay. If you ask, I will send you a link to it. And then as soon as you're done, we can have a live conversation and we'll talk about anything that's of interest to you. Okay. So see, it pays to listen to these webinars when they come out every once in a while because we cover some pretty cool stuff. Okay. Here's another one. It's the last one that we're going to cover. It's called directed physical count. Now, ScanForce has always had physical count in all three versions, the core, the select, the premier that I showed you on one of those very first screen. They all do physical counts. This is a tweak to that process. Okay. Normally with physical count, you just go out and start counting stuff and we flow it back into the workbook. Okay. But with directed physical count, if you're only doing maybe a cycle count, or maybe you're getting ready to make a big buy and you want to go out and check stock on these items before you hit send. Okay. You could freeze those select items and they would show up as a to-do list for the user. You see the bubble over this person on her handheld, it said, go to this location, scan it. We verify she's in the right place and scan the products that are there. So it is directing, it's directed physical count. It's directing the users exactly where to go, exactly what to count. Okay. And maybe this side of the aisle is zone 1 and this side of the aisle is zone 2. The same item may be in both places, but this person is responsible for counting this zone. This person is responsible for counting this zone. So on their screens, they each only see the places they're supposed to go count. Huge efficiency gains. You can get these things done in record time. And don't discount the ROI on time. Okay. The amount of time that you can save by adding these efficiencies will pay for the system in a hurry. Okay. So that's a quick rundown on some of the kind of hot enhancements that people are really excited. Some of the fast movers, if you will, in your warehouse, you probably have your top 10, your top 50 fast movers. These are kind of the same thing for me. These are kind of the fast moving items that people are showing the most interest in. Okay. So the last thing that I want to talk about with you folks is support. And this is one of those things where, when you enter into an agreement with a company to buy a piece of software that's important, that runs your whole warehouse, it's a major consideration, okay? Because what's the cost of failure there, all right? You need to know that the support is just as good, if not better, than the software that it's supporting. And this is one of those situations where I would beg of you, do not take my word for it. Ask anybody else in the Sage world. Okay. Ask your Sage reseller partner. They have dealt with us many times in the past. They've seen it done. They have other customers that utilize ScanForce. Ask them what's been their experience. They're your trusted advisor. Don't listen to me, listen to them. Okay. They will tell you that when it comes to all of the Sage add-ons in the very, very rich Sage 100 aftermarket, ISV world, that we're at the top when it comes to support, hands down. Okay. You get unlimited access to our help desk. When you update Sage, you're never going to pay for us to update our stuff that plugs into the new version. Okay. That's just kind of a given. All right. And to prove that, I have a statistic. But to get to that statistic, you're going to have to answer one more question. Okay. This is our last poll question for today. What do you think is our support team's average response time? Now, as you consider this, I'll tell you that we collected this data over an entire year. We looked at every email, every phone call, everything that came in to our support desk, and we said, what is the amount of time it takes to respond? And that's not the automated email that says, thank you for emailing, we'll get back to you. That was a human getting back with you, answering your specific question. Okay, so they're starting to roll in now. So let's take a quick look and see what you're thinking. You nailed it, 26 minutes. That's right. Okay. Thank you for whoever said 30 seconds. I appreciate you having that much faith in us. We're good, not quite that good, but we're 26 minutes good, which I think you'll agree is pretty good. Okay. Somebody just put in 4 hours. I'm going to have to figure out how to find out who that is. Anyway, I jest. There you go. That's right. Take that one away. So again, our support top notch. Our implementation team, they bring a best of breed approach. They're going to help you figure out all those settings behind the scenes that we talked about, how to configure those to make ScanForce work perfectly in your environment, to really customize it to work for you. Okay. All right, we have reached the end, and I promised when we sent out the reservations for this that we would do some Q&A. So we're going to do that. I'm going to bring our main marketing man, Woody, back in. And as Woody is compiling the questions, by the way, if you have questions, a top right little question mark, pop them in there. We'll get those answered. There's all of our contact info. I purposely did not put my email address on here because any given day I may have back-to-back demos. It may be several hours before I even get to look at my inbox. But if you send an email to info@ScanForce, it comes to the whole team here. Okay, so somebody can get back to you much quicker. We can't let the support team outdo us with their 26 minutes response time, so we have to be good too. Okay, all right. So Woody, tell us, what sort of questions do the good people have for us today?
All right, first question, Brian. If my vendors put their own barcodes on boxes, can the ScanForce guns read those?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, we talked a little bit about that in the beginning. I know not everybody was able to join in the first, so let me back up a little bit on that. The barcode symbologies, those languages, the scanners can decode all of them. So it really does not matter what your vendors label things as. Your scanners that we provide can, and we do provide those. We give you one piece of paper for the whole system, the hardware, the scanners, the printers, install, training, test environment, go live, ongoing support. One quote for the whole thing. Okay. What else, Woody?
What logic do you have available for directed pick? For example, smallest bin, largest bin, etc.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we talked about a FIFO, and I said that was the most common, but we do have others. In fact, I know you may have, especially if you're using multi-bin, you may have 100 in one place and a couple over here and a few over there, kind of onesie twosie quantities. And so people always say, well, I'm not want to go to three different places. I'm just going to go to the place with 100 and I can do it in one pick. Okay. Well, there is a setting in the system that would allow you to, quote, clean up your inventory as you go. It would tell the user to go and pick those onesie twosie quantities to clean those spaces out and then take them to the bulk or storage location where they can get the rest of it. So some of our customers will set it up that way in the beginning and use the picking system to clean the inventory. And then once they feel like they're in a good place, change that setting and now make it more efficient. In other words, if I've got 10 here and I've got 100 here and I need 50, they may not want to go to the place with 10 first. They may not want to go and do two picks. They want it to be really, really snappy. So in that case, it can take me just to the place that has 100. Okay. Or maybe there's a default bin and you want them to go there first. Okay. And then you pull from an overstock bin and you replenish. Part of multi-bin, there's replenishment reporting. You can set up mins and maxes in the bins. And if you pick down below the min, it shows up on the replenishment report, and somebody can go and pull from the overstock and replenish your pick bins. So there's quite a lot of choices there. Please give me a call. I'll be happy to show you all those.
Next question. If I already have your WMS, can I add enhancements like image capture and physical count, or do I have to do the full upgrade?
Well, first, I'm glad that you liked those too. I'm glad I picked those to talk about. And yes, you'll find ScanForce is very, very modular. Now, there are some select few enhancements that can only work with a certain version. For instance, there may be an enhancement that has to have multi-bin as a backbone in order to work, in which case you'd have to use the multi-bin version to use that enhancement. But by and large, most of our enhancements will work across all of the versions, and they're very modular. And I tell people all the time, if you want to start small, get some, get your feet wet, get it under your belt, and then once everybody's happy, then maybe you want to add that extra piece that you talked about that you were interested in. I'm perfectly fine with that. I want you to be happy and comfortable and confident in the system, so you won't hear any arguments from me if you want to phase these things in.
Following up on starting small, how do companies typically roll out or sequence implementation if they need production management and multi-bin? Do you start training on multi-bin and then add in production management?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is uh, one of all, one of everything. Okay. First of all, production management is actually capable of standing on its own. Okay. So the other enhancements like image capture, that doesn't work if you're not using our receiving and or picking, okay, on the back end. It requires the WMS as a backbone. But production management is that one thing that can stand alone. So we do have some clients that use PM that do not use the full WMS. So in that case, we can focus just on manufacturing, and maybe that's all they ever need. Okay. Or maybe they get comfortable with production management, and once manufacturing is good, then we look at rolling out the WMS, or vice versa. There really is no right or wrong. We have a lot of customers that phase in the implementation. In other words, they say, I know I want multi-bin, I know I want this, this, and this, but I'm going to start with the basics with no multi-bin. And I will call you, ScanForce, and I will tell you when I'm ready to turn multi-bin on. Now, the only thing that really changes is I need one more barcode scan. Where are you putting that item when you do a put away? Or where are you picking it from when you're preparing an order for shipment? It's one extra beep from the scanner. Okay. But it does have far reaching implications. We want to make sure you're ready for it. So we have customers that do it every way under the sun. Some people rip off the band aid, they do everything at once. Others will start and they'll say, let's do receiving. And then we'll call you back in a month and we'll do a physical count. And then another month we'll do shipping. So we can phase it in whatever manner you wish. It's extremely flexible.
All right. What are some of the obstacles that companies face using ScanForce for the first time? We're just getting started with this and are looking out for major obstacles that seem to have often uh, with companies starting this for the first time.
Don't rush the training. That's really my first thing. Our trainers are great. They've done this many, many, many times. They know what works. Listen to them if they give you advice, okay? Because they know what it's going to take to get you successful. Um, and then take your time. If you want to phase it, phase it. You don't have to do everything day one. Starting with receiving is a great option because think about it. When we bring stuff in, we can label it and put it on a shelf. And then when we pick it, we may not scan the barcode, but it's got a label on it. So months down the road or weeks down the road or whenever we're ready to turn on picking, the labels will be there for us. So eventually you sort of burn through your non-labeled inventory and everything has come through ScanForce receiving. It's got a barcode on it. Okay. So there's many, many ways to go about that. But yeah, don't rush it. Take the advice of the implementation team. And I think what you'll find if you're used to Sage 100, it's going to seem very normal because, like I told you in the beginning, we grew out of Sage 100. So, all of the terminology, like we don't call it SKU, we call it item code because that's what Sage 100 calls it. Okay. So, all of our field names, the flow of the data, the way data entry is done in a certain sequence so it can flow back into Sage, this is all done on purpose, very particularly very, very meaningfully. It's intended that way for a purpose. And something else that you'll find when we do a demo for you, 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to ask your user for one piece of data per screen. What's the PO number? What's the first item? Okay. What's the quantity? Okay. So it's one piece of data and I validate every entry. If you give me good data, I'll advance you on. If you give me data that doesn't match, if you give me an item code that doesn't match the PO, invalid item. We give you instant feedback so you can correct it. Okay. We don't let mistakes like that trickle back into Sage. Okay. So trust the system. It's designed to be simple for a reason, and trust the people that are here to help you. Your Sage reseller partner is probably going to be a great resource to you as well. We probably have worked with them many, many times. So they can be invaluable resource to you as well.
Next question. Do you offer training in different languages like Spanish?
We do. We have a native Spanish speaker on staff that can do Spanish level training. So yes, that is something we can do.
All right. I have some scanners and printers already. Can I just use those?
More than likely, yes. I mean, for the printers, almost certainly. By all means, shoot me an email and let me know the specific printer numbers, and we'll verify it. But more than likely, yes. For the scanners, our application runs on Android, like the Zebra class device or Honeywell's or any of those types. We also run on iOS, which is Apple, and we run on a Windows PC. So quite often, especially in manufacturing, where you don't need mobility, like if I'm at a bench level station where I'm working, I don't need mobility. If I already have a PC there, we'll just put ScanForce on that PC. We don't need a hit scanner. Or you could get just a simple little USB scanner for that PC. Okay. So yeah, chances are we can work, but again, send me the exact model numbers and I will verify it for you. Most of the time we're talking about the Android, the rugged handhelds from various manufacturers. And we go all the way back to like Android 6 or something, I want to say. But verify what you have with me and we'll make sure we get you a definitive answer.
All right, and unless there are other questions, like Brian said, go ahead and put it in the question section. It's that box up there in the top right. Other than that, we have a couple of multi-bin questions here. First off, do I need to buy multi-bin separately?
No. So multi-bin is included in the Premiere version of our WMS. If you remember one of the very first screens, we had Core, Select, and Premiere. The Core and the Select are non-multi-bin versions. They just have different levels of features and functions. And then the Premiere is a step up. It adds the multi-bin piece. So it is included. Our implementation team will do all the setup and the configuration of multi-bin as part of the WMS implementation. So no, you do not need to purchase multi-bin separately.
And finally, can you convert data from another multi-bin?
Oh, absolutely. We've done it many, many times. I don't have an exact count, but I know probably a couple of years ago, one of our installers said they had done it over 100 times. So well over 100 times we have converted multi-bin data from another multi-bin into ours. So that's just a normal process that we do.
All right, got one more in here under the gun. If we mapped out our warehouses and have every bin location labeled, can you guys send out nice stickers or labels for us to use with the QR code included?
So we don't print them ourselves, but I have a partner, somebody that I've known in this business for 25 years that specializes in that very thing. And I've put numerous of my customers in contact with this individual. And really all you have to do is send him like an Excel spreadsheet of all of your locations. And once you design the type and the layout, the format, what you want it to look like, then in like a week and a half or so, a box of stickers will show up on your dock and you just go out there and have a sticker party. And I can even offer some advice there. I have some examples that I'm happy to show you of like, think about if you have like 6 positions high, 6 shelves high on your rack, it could be 20 feet over your head. Well, you don't want to scan a barcode 20 feet over your head. So they make a tall, skinny sticker that goes on the up beam of the rack that says, shelf position 1 is this barcode. Shelf position 2 is this barcode. And they're color coded. So it makes it very easy for someone down at floor level or from a forklift seat to scan those barcodes. So I can help with that as well.
Are QR codes better than the standard line barcode?
I won't say better, but they can certainly hold a great deal more data. So if you do need to hold, supplemental information like lots or serials or dates or things like that, we always recommend them. Okay. So that, other than storage capacity, no, I wouldn't say that they're better. But that seems to be the way most people are trending.
All right, I think that is it for the questions.
Okay, well, I think we finished, and you get a couple of minutes of your life back, folks. Well, thank you so very much for joining. Woody, thank you for playing host and helping out with the questions. And if you folks have any sort of questions or comments, we would love to hear it. Please ping us an email or just pick up the phone and give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. And you'll all be receiving a copy of this, at least a link to it, in the coming days. So please let us know what we can do to help. Thank you very much. Bye now.